Exactly, that's what we're finding out. Here we go.
My patellar tensegrity, you know.
Hey everybody, I am
Exactly.
I am with the amazing Eric Franklin.
I can feel my patella floating off the
Can you feel it moving? Can you feel your patella moving in a fluid system? Eric, you know, this is our 6th International Fascia Research Congress. You've been at many of these. How do you feel fascia has informed you with this amazing body of work that you have, to which I still have to say, I say it all the time, one of my ultimate favorite books on my bookshelf is Dynamic Alignment Through Imagery, and that book has been something where if a client is struggling with some kind of concept or movement, I can always whip out that book and just find the perfect image to bring people back into their bodies, to give them a new perspective on whatever it is that they're struggling with. And I just really thank you for the contribution
My
of
pleasure.
this magic.
That was a very
of you.
long sentence. Like, I don't think I can, reciprocate that.
It's pretty amazing what you managed to do in our industry, you know?
Actually, there's a new edition coming out, all in color, finally.
Wow.
With like 150 more illustrations. And,
wow.
Yeah, it's gotten so heavy, though, that no one's going to just put it in their bag and take it to the beach.
No, but it'll definitely be one of my, again, I'm sure. And is it out now or is it coming out?
It's like 3 or 4 months away.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait.
So it's done. It's done.
I can't wait. So I'm curious,
Right.
How has fascia informed your practice as a movement-based human?
Well, I think what's sort of interesting is that already in the first edition of the book, I mentioned fascia and I mentioned tensegrity, and that is like forever ago, 1995.
Yeah.
And so I've been experimenting with tensegrity and fascia. Of course, the research wasn't around since then, and of course, how to teach it to people so they can embody it in any kind of movement. So not just saying, okay, to fix your fascia, organize your fascia, do this exercise and that protocol and so forth, but to make it a living experience for people. And it's not the easiest thing to do, but there are certain areas in the body that are a little easier.
Like what?
Because they're already so tensegral. Some areas are a little more challenging, probably some areas are a little more easy. Well, for example, your shoulder blade is like just floating on your back. It's not really connected in any bony, serious manner to the body. So that's a classic place that people actually relatively more easily can embody tensegrity. I think the hyoid bone, of course, is another floating bone. That's another one you can start with, where people can immediately see, it's not touching another bone, it's floating there, okay. And the scapula is also the most mobile bone we have in the body, so like things like that. And then I think the pelvis is one of my favorite ones to teach fascia.
Yeah, the pelvis, actually I thought one thing I had said to a couple of the other people, people asked me, what did you think this year? And I said, I think there were 3 things really missing, which I'd like to see more on, is the keystone within the pelvis, and to speak about that form and force closure through that fascial matrix, the diaphragm and how it informs that pelvic diaphragm, how these 2 diaphragms work together, and also the feet. I think
the foot tensegrity I think is also doable. The thing is, I was having a discussion about biotensegrity yesterday, and like all this, these biomechanical models should just be thrown out. But I think that you can't just throw out biomechanics. At physiotherapy schools, that's still what's taught. Let's face it, you're not going to be able to just say claw, right? Because then everyone gets lost. But I've sort of developed this pedagogy where I start with the keystone, I move on to form force closure, and then I go, okay, but there are some problems with both of those, form closure model, and the solution could be tensegral, and then we go to the tensegrity, and everyone experiences that, and then everyone can choose, what does it feel like to you? Sacrum is a keystone, form force, how does that feel to you in your body? How does tensegrity feel to you? The fascial approach, and most people actually prefer the fascial approach. that feels best to them.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not me saying you have to, like, that's the, you know, frontier. No. I let them choose. And they will choose that. It's the most mobile, the most comfortable in people's bodies. So
I love this.
does that make any sense?
I think it does. I think it
not
does.
to just like, oh, this is wrong and this is right, you know.
Well, that's it, is in our bodies.
There's no such thing.
There's no such thing.
I think for beginners,
you
know, thinking of the sacrum as a keystone, just to stand equally on their legs, that's like, it's not correct, but it's a good metaphor to help them with that.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and that's it, is, you know, I think our pelvis, our brain, trying to figure out where is my center of gravity in relationship to the earth and how I'm standing on it. And then can I move my body as a fluid system and not feel clicking, cracking, snapping, popping, thunking, and crunching with every step that I take? And do I feel stable? And I feel like fascia, you know, one of the big controversies, I'm curious what you think about this, you know, we've gone through these scientific classifications of, is it a tissue, is it an organ, is it a system? And I really think that this concept of biotensegrity makes a lot of sense, because it is an integrated system that is everywhere, and it is providing structural stability, but on a cellular level, cells need an environment to work with anyway. And, you know, when Dr. Peter Friedel was talking about how cancer kind of gets sort of stuck, it stops, finds a pathway and then sort of gets stuck, and then it anchors into the collagen, and the collagen pushes back.
The fluid gets replaced by cancer cells.
Exactly, and so I was trying to say is, isn't then the ultimate goal is to keep ourselves fluid, to keep ourselves moving, to, you know, use respiration, to use tension and compression management in a way that educates people that, yes, we can deter the anchorage of a cancer cell that would metastasize. And so when I talked to him, you know, offline, he's like, I think you're right. The question is how. And I said, well, I think that's it, is can we measure it?
With meltment.
I hope so. I mean, I feel like that's, you know, that's been my, you know, like since the beginning, when I first really started even learning about superficial fascia and thinking of it more like a sponge, that say sensory nerves are in here, lymph is in here. Isn't that what we all need to do, is just, you know, get a hug every day, squeeze, cause, you know, that tension through the body. I think it's important.
Maybe one, like, you know, from the point of view of embodiment imagery, I think one thing that might be interesting to look at, like in the macro, you know, dimension of our body, like here's my arm, it's much easier to say, okay, this is a biomechanical thing, you have muscles, you know, that create torques and so forth. But as soon as you go onto the cellular fascial level, all that Newtonian stuff goes out the window. And why not embody both? I mean, the elbow sure does look like a lever, you know?
Yeah.
And yes, there's fascial element, but it sure, you know, looks like a, you know, it behaves like a lever, you know,
it smells like a lever, looks like a lever.
you know, it's like very, and like to tell people, no, the bones are just floating in your arm, and there's no, you know, so there it's like, it's going to be difficult, you know, but if you go onto that micro level where gravity is out the window, there it would be really easy to go, okay, I'm a bunch of cells that are bouncing in space, floating like that in the primal ocean, in the interstitial ocean. I think that is an absolutely fine embodiment even for beginners. You play the right music and you go around and have this cool experience with that.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a right or wrong. I think we need to see it also from a point of view of metaphors. How much of what we're saying is science, and how much is a metaphor?
Yes, and you know, it's interesting.
And metaphors are good. They're not bad,
as I was going to say, metaphors
know?
Work. And in fact, when you think about the body, these metaphors really do make a whole lot of sense. And you know, in recent times, I've been kind of very fascinated with frequency and vibration. And when somebody's really in a state of high stress, that you can just put a 40 hertz on around them, and it just baselines their frequency, because we are a fluid system, and collagen does act like a superconductor. So I think this concept of, if our bodies are designed to be an adaptable fluid system, we are a melted system, we are a hydrated system.
And your thoughts, right, are a vibration, and it's the vibration that's closest to your body, and it's constantly influencing your body.
Yes.
So why not, these things are so simple that no one does them. For example, just walking down the street and with every step feeling the bounce, the vibration in the lower back muscles, and having the experience that they're very happy about it. Bringing the good mood, not like just doing research, okay, does this here improve my mood, but like just talking to your lower back muscles, and experiencing a good mood in your lower back. Everyone please try that, yeah? So
yes, and smile while you're walking.
My back is in a good mood, and you say that a few times as you walk down the street, and I'm convinced everyone's going to feel the difference, because as you were saying, it's a frequency, and we're saying that frequency out into our body, and the fluids are listening to what we're thinking as well, and the frequency is also informing the fluids and informing the matrix and all those kind of things. And the cool thing about these things is, even though it sounds totally out there, we have a huge amount of evidence on self-talk and the positive effects on performance. And people who think I'm going to jump higher than people who think, oh, I can never jump that high.
Yes.
Where does that exactly come from?
I say it all the time. People need to ask, where are you in your self fill in the blank practice? And I mean that on every level: self-care, self-love, self-talk, self-belief, self-acceptance. Right? That we are the rulers of our frequency, and that negative frequency has a negative charge.
What are you paying attention to? It all starts with the beginning of change. Is paying attention. And the quality of your attention is really important. I mean, for example, just to show some studies, just imagining that you're lifting a heavier weight rather than a lower weight creates changes in the muscle activation. I mean, how simple is that? If you imagine you're lifting 10 pounds, you have twice as much muscle activation than if you're lifting 5 pounds. And so I always say that's the cheapest way to modulate muscle activity, which will modulate, fascial resonance. The fastest, easiest way, starting point, no machines necessary. So I'm not saying it's the only way, but I'm saying it's one tool that everyone should just also consider, because it's always available. It can be adapted to any pathology, any kind of exercise. There we have it.
That's true. Eric, once again, I mean, mind-blowing conversations. I feel like, somebody who really understands. I mean, I feel like you're finishing sentences and just really on the same frequency. How do people find out more about your amazing work?
Well, frankenmethod.com. Visit our website, come to a webinar, like maybe one of the shorter ones, 2 hours to get started. We have every imaginable topic, lower back, pelvic floor, psoas, you name it.
Great tools,
and
great
just
techniques.
have fun with us.
Yeah.
So embodied anatomy, experience your body in a happier, healthier state, and then, there's longer courses as well.
Indeed. Well, I look forward to seeing your new book with all those colorful images.
It's very colorful.
It's pretty amazing. I've seen some of his colorful artwork, and it is truly mind-blowing. Are you the artist of it? Are you the one?
Yeah, I make most of them with the help of a designer to speed it up. Yeah,
amazing.
I have some help in that department, but also conditioning for dance is in color, by the way. It has lots of metaphors in it. You ever hear that one?
No.
Yeah, conditioning for dance is for anyone. It's lots of exercise with balls and bands and all kinds of stuff like that. And it's all color. It's beautiful.
I'm going to check it out now.
Yeah.
All right, so I have one last question. This is a question I ask everybody. If you had to tell anybody who's listening one thing that you could do today to ensure perhaps a better tomorrow, what's one thing you would tell people to do every day?
Just for like the rest of the day, brainwash yourself with positive ideas about yourself. Like, I feel relaxed, comfortable in my body, my breath is free and easy, and everything's moving in the right direction. Just like, in the beginning you have to force yourself a little bit and just keep that going. And any movement you do, say something positive about it. Oh, it's so much fun to reach for the coffee, and I really enjoy how I just stepped off that curb, like that. And you'll notice a huge difference. I mean, you don't have to do it all every day or anything, but just give that one a try, like a nice body wash with positive kinesthetic body-based imaging.
I love it. I hope you guys will try it. Eric, you're awesome. Thanks again.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Peace out, everybody.